Right behind me is the C-47B, a military transport version of the McDonnell Douglas DC-3. Put on your flight glasses because we're about to take a ride with the Yankee Air Force. The C-47 was first built in the mid-1930s as a way of getting people and cargo across the oceans. The majority of these planes were put in service during World War II, and a total of almost 13,000 of them were built. This particular plane was built in 1945 and was used by the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the University of Michigan, and the Environmental Protection Agency. This plane was retrieved from a desert scrap heap and brought back to its past glory by men like Bill Weck.
The Davis-Monthan facility of the Air Force, where they store airplanes, they sell them as they become out of storage to contractors that turn them into tin cans. So you have to get there and get them before they turn them into a tin can. And we contacted one of them, and he actually went out and got them for us, but it was out in the desert, and they were grungy. Oh, they were bad, but we got them all cleaned up.
This plane is now the flagship of the Yankee Air Force, an organization that was started in Michigan by people looking to preserve aviation history.
Their mission is to preserve the heritage of the old airplanes and the Air Force of many years ago. And the C-47 was the first airplane that they acquired, and they did a complete renovation job on this airplane, and it's a beautiful C-47.
It was built about 45 years ago, and 1985 it was an award winner at Oshkosh, the United States' biggest air show, for the best in transport category. It has been, it took us about 18 months to renovate it. It was in fantastic shape, but it was a surveillance radar camera ship, and we had to replace main beams and fill camera holes. She is back to her military configuration. All that remains to make her complete is a rope for the jumpers, but everything else is purely back to the original military configuration.
The Yankee Air Force is an all-volunteer, non-profit organization that keeps flying through donations and proceeds from a gift shop that sells souvenirs. The Yankee Air Force is also in the process of restoring a B-17 bomber as well as a B-25, but the C-47 is still their first love.
It's a very stable, basic airplane and extremely safe and very reliable. That's another part that made it famous. It was safe and it was reliable. And the airlines needed, in the 30s, that's exactly what they needed to get this nation's air transportation system underway.
Having that reassurance and a full tank of gas, it was time to take to the air.
It will do about 220 miles an hour, but we baby it. We come up at about 170. It's certified to approximately 26,000 feet, but we don't fly that high because we don't have an oxygen system. And we can do about 1,600 miles unrefueled.
It was used in World War II, both in the Japanese theater and the European theater, for our Allied airborne forces to jump out of or to drop supplies when there was a battle underway where you couldn't get close enough to land. But it was also used to land supplies. The unbelievable stories were told about how they supported General Patton's drive across France and on into Germany. And they were going in and out of grass fields and farmers' fields and rolling off 55-gallon drums of fuel for General Patton's tanks and his armored vehicles. That was an exciting use of the airplane. But it's basically a transport airplane. It'll transport anything you can put in it.
They ever put any guns on this and use it that way?
Yes, they did in Vietnam. I didn't fly in the Vietnam War, but they called it the Spooky, and it was the original gunship.
After a briefing from the crew, everyone aboard was ready to perform a touch-and-go landing, with K.I. Sawyer Wing Commander Colonel Edward Grillo at the controls. I asked members of the Yankee Air Force why they got involved with old planes, and their answers made a lot of sense.
What's a postman do on Sunday? What's he do? He goes for a walk, right? I'm an aircraft mechanic by trade, so what do I do in my spare time? I work on airplanes. It's, some people collect stamps. I can't collect airplanes, but I can work on them, and I like it. And in the fellowship of the people, we're all volunteers. We enjoy old airplanes. So, and then we do have a lot of fun in the process, which is kind of unique.
After completing 2 more touch-and-go landings and a tour of the county, it was time to return to base. Yet another mission accomplished for the Yankee Air Force and the C-47 transport.